Yeah, now we'll move on to the next canto, the finding of the soul. First painting of this canto by Huta, finding of the soul. You can see Savitri, her soul. She's crossing through the door, second painting. She's going inward, inward, inward. She sees the passage, see some bright figures while she's going from door to door, from door to door, she's entering inward. She is seeing now behind. She's approaching closer to her soul's place. The Supreme Soul of Savitri and the Divine Human Savitri, they are face to face meeting. They have become one with her Divine Soul. Savitri has become one with the Divine Soul. Now Savitri is sitting by the side of her Satyavan, who is still asleep there. She is meditating. All the experiences happen in this condition for Savitri. Within just a couple of days, 3 days, all these things are happening for Savitri. Within 3 days, you see. And she sees now divining her soul, and then the divine Shakti which is coming and entering it. All the powers which are locked in a subtle body, the Kundalini is rising from below up like that. All the 7 centers are opening out to the divine force. All the lotuses in the subtle body are opening one by one. Our immediate picture is this Savitri going towards the soul, you see. Onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. That is what we have got in the first slide, you see. She passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. Now, before we go with the text, let me give some details about this canto. We have got here 3 sections. Section 125, section 126, and section 127. 3 sections, 25, 26, 27. In first section, 125, there are in all 141 lines and 39 sentences. This section consists of 39 sentences and 141 lines. In the second section, you got 59 lines, 59 lines, a short one, 59 lines and just 10 sentences. And in third, you have got 144 lines and 32 sentences. So in all, in this canto, we have got 344 lines and 81 sentences. The whole canto consists of just 81 sentences. So again, on average, as we have been doing, the number of lines per stanza, per sentence, comes to 4.25, around 4. This is what we have been seeing all along. The number of lines per sentence averages to 4, which is telling here also, 4.25. Now, in this particular canto, we have some revisions. What we have got in this edition and what is there in the 1993 edition. There are in all 42 revisions, 42 revisions. Canto 5. See, for instance, now here, you got K capital in this edition. It has become K small in the revised edition. But the most interesting case is this one of revision, 125.18. In the first edition of Savitri, we have got, he carried a mortal luster as his robe. In the revised edition, in fact, in the 1954, in the 1972, in 1993, in all the subsequent editions, we have, he carried immortal luster as his robe. In other words, immortal, or the first edition, has become in all the other editions immortal. Immortal has become immortal. Well, that looks very odd, very strange. How can immortal and immortal be alternatives? In all the other places, they say that they write in the text immortal luster, and in the footnote they say alternative amortal luster. In all the other editions, the text says immortal luster and the footnote says amortal luster as alternative. Now, I don't understand how amortal can become an alternative for immortal. They are exactly the opposite, you see. Now, no background is available anywhere. Why this change has taken place? Nowhere. But one day, I asked Nirodharan, how can immortal become an alternative for amortal? How can you change that thing at all? Then he came out with the argument that this is a dictated line. This is a dictated line. And people argue that Sri Aurobindo might have said immortal, but he heard immortal. Sri Aurobindo might have said immortal, but he heard immortal. Immortal. Because of his English pronunciation, you see, immortal. You see. Immortal becomes immortal. That is the kind of an explanation which was given. I said it's impossible. You might have misheard it. This way. He might have said immortal and you might have misheard it for immortal or whatever it is you see. But when you have read it back to him 2 or 3 times, surely you read immortal. You didn't read immortal. When Nirodharan read out that text back to Sri Aurobindo, he read it as immortal. So, do you mean to say that again Sri Aurobindo misheard immortal to immortal? You see, because his pronunciation is very clear, immortal. That is how Nirodharan will read the line, very quietly, very slowly, in that manner, you see. Then he had no answer for that, you see. So, this is the little story about that. But then, the more interesting thing is, in the 1954 edition of Savitri, the university edition of Savitri, the text has immortal. And this particular passage has been read out by the mother herself with a distinct tone of immortal. She utters it immortal. She doesn't say immortal. She says immortal. Now, mother said immortal and you are converting it to immortal. That becomes the dilemma there, you see. We'll see while we go to the text, we'll see how immortal can really fit in well with the meaning of the line. See, he is carrying a mortal luster as his robe, which is perfectly all right. The divine, the Son, is carrying a mortal robe, luster as his robe, you see. What is wrong in that? He has taken birth here, a mortal robe, mortal luster. You don't have to say immortal because his Son, therefore immortal. You don't have to say that, you see. So I think I would go by immortal, personally. This is one particular important case. There are many other things, but we'll skip them. As I said, there are in all 42 revisions compared to this one. Many of them are small nature. See, for instance, here, capital C, C is small. In the revised edition, C is capital of bliss. Now, in this sentence 126.1, there is an additional line in the revised edition. The additional line is, eternity upheld the merits acts. And that comes between these two lines. Observer the siren steps of the hours and the passing scenes of the everlasting play. That is what we have in the first edition of Savitri. These two lines belong to the first edition. And these three lines belong to the revised edition. In other words, between these two lines, we have got an additional line here in the revised edition. So, in the revised edition, instead of 344 lines, we have 345 lines because of this additional line. Yeah. Coming back now to the opening sentence of the book. Onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. Soul's mystic cave. Mystic cave. Hridaya Guha. That is the Sanskrit phrase. Hridaya Guha. Guha, cave. That is a very common phrase in the Sanskrit spiritual literature. Antara Guha, Hridaya Guha. So she is going now inward. Now, onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave, because she was told to go like this, like this, like this. So she is going, and you have seen that painting, how she is climbing up to see that soul, mystic cave. Onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. Poetically, this is a very beautiful line. The rhythm is a very peculiar, very specific kind of rhythm. Onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. Onward, that is long shot, what is called a trucky. Onward, she passed, she up and down. Onward, she passed. Seeking, again down. The souls up. In other words, you have got what is called a trucky here and a trucky here. And here you have got an amp, and here you have got another amp. Long, short, short, long. Long, short, short, long. That is how the beat is moving. Onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. Here, mystic cave has got 3 syllables. Mystic cave. Long, short, long. That is called critic. C-R-A-T-I-C. Critic. Sometimes she even uses that kind of a construction. Critic. Onward she passed, seeking the soul's mystic cave. At first, she stepped into a night of God. Now, this is a totally different kind of an experience. Night of God has to some extent the Catholic tinge in it. Night of God, Roman Catholic aspect of mysticism in that theology, night of God. But the Catholic night of God is of a slightly different kind than the night of God we are going to meet here. There is a difference between the two. We'll see that thing shortly. But he has brought that thing. Now, this is an experience which is perhaps necessary also before you discover your soul. You have to pass to the night of God. It is not the night of anguish, suffering, toil, misery, of difficulty, of distress while approaching your spiritual goal. It is not that at all, that kind of a night. It is not a spiritual night of suffering in that sense. But this is something which will keep away from you all that which comes in the expression or the quality of the soul. That is the difference between the two. She first stepped into a night of God. We move with our feelings, with our touch and perceptions and things like that, action, reactions and like that, with our thoughts, with our mind, with our faculties of sense and all that thing. These are our instruments of cognition, of understanding things all around us. We see things, we react, we understand in that manner. Now, all these faculties have become quiet, have disappeared. All our faculties of cognition have completely disappeared. And therefore, you can't see, you can't hear, you can't think, you can't do anything at all. It is a night. The new faculties have not yet come, but the old faculties had sort of disappeared. They are not there at all now, you see. So it is that kind of a night. You are not having mind, so you become kind of an idiot. You can't express your emotion, you become a stupid fellow, you see. Unresponsive, insensitive like that, you see. You can't work. You are a tamasic man like that, you see, in that way, you see. So it is that condition in which Savitri is first stepping in. All the faculties of human cognition have ceased to exist. And therefore it is a night. It is a night not of man, night of God. Because they don't exist there at all, you see. Unless these things have stopped, the divine faculties cannot come and enter in it. You have to become night first, then only the light can come. In that sense, you see. Then only the light can come here. In fact, that is what I say, the light was quenched that helps the laboring world. That is what we live in, laboring world. The power of the struggles and stumbles in our life, this inefficient mind gave up its thought. The striving heart is unavailing hope. So, mind is not there, heart is not there. Everything has failed completely. She is unable to say anything, listen anything at all. This inefficient mind, this striving heart, in what way they can help us? Not at all. They have ceased to be there. Striving heart also has ceased. It has not any hope at all now, you see, completely. Therefore, it is a night, because new thing has not come here so far, a higher faculty. In a way, but definitely of a totally different kind. The mother had entered into the physical's night of God. Physical's night of God. She does not know what to do with the physical. But at the same time, all the other faculties have ceased to see anything at all. She says that I have sent back my mind. I have sent back my life. When mind has gone away, when heart has gone away, by what does she recognize this thing? She says, it is my body which should respond directly to the influence, to the light, the power of the divine. Not through mind that the body should experience, not through heart that the body should experience. They should be away, they should be kept aside completely. She says, I have sent them back. She says that, I mean, people may call me a stupid person because I can't think now, you see. I can't think. It is my body, physical, which has to respond directly to the Supreme's influence, to the Supreme's light, directly. Therefore, all those things have gone away from me completely. That is the kind of night Mother was experiencing. So that is, of course, a night of a much higher degree than the night of God we are seeing here. The night of God. At first he stepped into a night of God. The light was quenched that helps the laboring world. The power that struggles and stumbles in our life, it has gone completely. See. This inefficient mind gave up its thought. The striving heart, its unavailing hope.